Alrighty, y'all. So I'm going to be giving my honest thoughts about Little Mermaid. When I give my honest thoughts about these characters, that basically means that I've come to a conclusion with them, and I'm usually going to be done with the character. Obviously, as a content creator, I will still try my best to give you guys different fun, cool Little Mermaid comps that you can use. But you guys kind of get the point after all the videos I've uploaded so far about Little Mermaid, right? I do think after using her, I think she is the best verse 1 character in the game by far. And then if I had to rank her, you're not gonna see a ranking from me of this character until May when I do my meta tier list. I might do a top 10 tier list, but I don't want to do that until after Mihara comes out. I'll do a top 10 tier list and then my meta tier list we do every month, right? But I do think Little Mermaid is by far the best verse 1. If you wanted me to rank her, I would probably say 1, the best character in the game is probably still Rappy Red Hood. 2, I would or it might even be Crown, you know? Like, I'm sorry, but Crown just keeps getting better and better with all these characters, right? But I'm gonna just put Rappy Red Hood 1. 2, I'm gonna put Crown. 3, I'll probably put Little Mermaid. And then 4, Red Hood. And then 5, Cinderella. I think I do have Little Mermaid sitting there at 3. Obviously, in my opinion, I do value supports more than I do DPSs. Hence why I do think Rappy Red Hood is the best character in the game because she's a broken DPS and a crazy support. Crown is by far the best support in the game, and then Little Mermaid is like right there beside Crown as the best support in the game. So it's like, hey, I do think she's up there. I do think they could have did change some things about her. If like when you look at her kit and you're like, what about her kit would I have changed, right? Don't get me wrong, I think she's great. I do. Honestly, I do think she's great and all that stuff. It's just I would have probably only changed the burst skill part. I think her burst skill is like not lackluster, but it's like I would have probably increased those numbers more. To be fair, she was a burst 1, and I'm sure the devs knew everybody was going to use her with Crown, and even maybe favorite item Helm. So, but I knew for a fact they knew that people were going to use her with Crown. So if they made that attack damage buff any higher, then we would have probably seen some crazy stuff. Especially since now you have Little Mermaid and Crown with Mihara coming out, right? And Mihara is going to be very, and I mean very, very, very powerful. I think I would have changed that very last part of her burst skill, the effect stuff. I don't think she needed to have an attack buff of a caster's attack for 10 seconds that goes to herself. I think they could have easily added that into the affects all allies part where she gives an attack buff and an attack damage buff. I just don't think she needed to give that attack buff to herself. Genuinely. Other than that, I think the character is great. Cooldown reduction is great in my opinion. The attack damage buff, maybe I could have, they could have increased that by a lot more as well. But I can understand why they would want to do it by 4%. You got to remember, this character basically allows you to enter your full burst too quickly. So any higher of an attack damage buff on skill 1, not to mention your attack damage buff on skill 2, and this is basically being proc the entire game, it's like, if these numbers were a bit higher, she'd be a lot more dangerous, right? And then the burst skilling phase, I think a gauge was great. I do think this character is a meta-changing character. I think this character has unlocked a lot more team comps, a lot more new teams and stuff like that. Obviously, it doesn't sound like it when I'm saying her best partner is with Crown and favorite item Helm, but it's true. Like, this character is just one of those ones. I do feel like you're going to want to have this character over Mihara guaranteed. Like if you can only get one of the two, I would probably say get Little Mermaid because Mihara is just going to be the best DPS in the game. Right, you probably already have all the characters who already had that title: Scarlet Black Shadow, Cinderella, Rappy Red Hood herself, Laplace maybe, fucking Oh, family friendly channel, sorry. Anybody of these characters, right? Any of these characters, you probably already have these crazy DPSs. So it's like, for me, I would probably say go for that one broken burst one support you don't have. I do think after, I'm gonna make another video that I seen the truth make for his game, which is Dokkan. I'm gonna try to make that video after this one because I thought it was a cool video to talk about. But when you talk about the burst one characters we've had, having her, you can just by looking at the burst one characters we have, excluding Red Hood, of course, you can tell that this character is a massive buff to burst one, right? Out of all these characters here, how many do you see that are actually good? Dorothy, Litter, Jackal in PvP, Rouge, Tia to an extent, especially since Tia died off a long time ago, ever since Crown came out, to be honest, which was last year now. Crown is 1 year old, right? And now Little Mermaid and D Killer Wife. Right, don't get me wrong, there's some other ones here that you could still use, are still viable, sure, but in terms of the actual decent ones that will work on teams, flexible teams, there's only like a handful. So I think this was a great addition to the game. I think this is a great addition to just everyone's account in general. You cannot lie. This character is a powerhouse DPS for someone who's just supposed to be a support. She is a great support in terms of helping your team reach their max potential. Like, this character makes a Crown have her entire kit up the entire time. This character makes characters who do insane damage off their burst skill just pop off. Like, if I had two DPSs that only pop off during their burst skill, this character is making it that I'm entering my burst skill so quick that they're basically, their entire lifespan on the game is just like using their burst skill. That's their whole point. The whole point of the characters is they're using their burst skill and then waiting until the other person's done their burst skill, and they're just switching between their burst skill. Like, this character normalizes burst skills, basically. That's what I'm getting at. I do think this character is one of those ones, which is crazy because when I read her kit initially, I just was like, I don't think this character is going to be one of those ones. Or if she was going to be one of those ones, she wasn't going to be like anything that we would jump for joy for, or not necessarily jump for joy, but like, the moment I found that she was a supporter burst one, I knew we were winning. You know what I mean? But when I looked at her kit, it was like, is this going to be better than Litter? Is this going to just be like a Dorothy situation where, you know, because she was a Pilgrim Burst 1 support character, we expected her to just be the best and then she's not the best? But then I used the character and I'm like, damn. Not only is she better than Litter, she dunks on Litter. So just expect a top 10 tier list soon from after Mihara drops, because I will say with my chest, I can say with my chest that we're going to see a lot of changes in my top 10, right? A lot of the characters that you've seen in the top 10 before will be getting changed, because I feel like a lot of characters with the recent releases have been jumped up big time and jumped down big time. But I guess that's more of my meta tier list. But for my top 10, I kind of have an idea of who I would put in my personal top 10, but I'll leave you guys to that from after. Or maybe I might do part 1 and part 2, but it doesn't really make sense to, because Mihara, it doesn't make sense. Mihara is too close by, so yeah. But my final thoughts is basically what you guys already knew. I think she's crazy. I think she's top 3. I think she's the best person 1 in the game, and I think she's a top 3 unit in the game, personally. But you guys let me know what you think. If you have made it to the end of the video, I want you guys to comment down below, where would you rank this character? If you had a top 10 list, or even if you don't classify her as a top 10 character, where would you put her in your top 10, or not top 10 basically? But other than that, your boy Zxous, I'm out. Peace.